Marcus Chen stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror, adjusting his tie for the third time. The face looking back at him was that of a successful shot, confident, composed, in control. But behind his dark eyes lurked a father's deepest fear, that he was failing the one person who mattered most. In 2 hours, his company's annual charity gala would begin, and every business associate, investor, and social climber in the city would be watching him. More importantly, his 8-year-old daughter Emma would be there too, witnessing yet another evening where Daddy's work came first. The arrangement had seemed practical when his assistant suggested it. "You need a date, Mr. Chen. The optics matter for someone in your position." So he'd hired Sophia Martinez through an upscale companion service, not for anything inappropriate, just someone to smile, make conversation, and help him navigate the social minefield of corporate networking. What he hadn't expected was for Sophia to arrive 30 minutes early, find Emma crying in the kitchen, and immediately abandon her professional role to comfort a heartbroken little girl. Emma had been dreading the party. Another night of watching her father shake hands with strangers who called her adorable but never remembered her name. Another evening of expensive catered food she didn't like and conversations about quarterly reports and market projections that made no sense to her 8-year-old mind. She'd been hiding in the kitchen, clutching her stuffed elephant, when Sophia knocked on the door. "Hi there," Sophia had said, crouching down to Emma's eye level. "I'm Sophia. You must be Emma. Your dad has told me so much about you." It wasn't true. Marcus had barely mentioned his daughter beyond the fact that she existed, but Sophia saw the loneliness in the child's eyes and recognized it immediately. Sophia Martinez knew what it felt like to be forgotten. Raised by a grandmother who worked 3 jobs, she'd learned early that sometimes the adults in your life loved you but couldn't always show it the way you needed. Now, at 28, she worked as a companion not because she needed the money her teaching degree and weekend tutoring provided in Ufa, but because she genuinely enjoyed helping people navigate difficult social situations. She'd planned to treat this like any other assignment: smile, be charming, help her client make the right connections. But Emma changed everything. "I don't want to go to the party," Emma whispered, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. "Daddy always gets busy talking to important people, and I just sit there. Nobody wants to talk to me." Sophia felt her heart crack open. Without thinking, she sat down on the kitchen floor, not caring about her elegant black dress. "You know what? I don't really want to go either. These parties can be pretty boring for people like us." Emma looked up with interest. "People like us?" "Yeah, people who would rather be reading stories or playing games or talking about things that actually matter." Sophia glanced around the pristine kitchen, noting the expensive appliances and perfect organization, but also the absence of finger paintings on the refrigerator or crayon marks on the walls, as signs of a childhood being lived. "What's your favorite book?" As Emma launched into an animated description of a fantasy series about dragons and brave princesses, Sophia found herself genuinely engaged. This wasn't part of her job description, but something about this lonely little girl struck a chord deep in her chest. When Marcus appeared in the doorway 20 minutes later, he stopped short at the sight of his hired date sitting cross-legged on his kitchen floor, braiding his daughter's hair while Emma chattered excitedly about her school's upcoming talent show. "Sorry," Marcus said, his voice slightly rough. "Emma, we need to get going." "Sophia, thank you for whatever this is." Sophia stood gracefully, but she kept one hand on Emma's shoulder. "Actually, I was thinking, would it be okay if Emma and I were partners tonight? Like, she could help me navigate the party, and I could help her have some fun." Marcus blinked, caught off guard. In 3 years of attending corporate events as a single father, no one had ever suggested including Emma as anything other than a prop to make him look like a devoted family man. I suppose that would be fine. The party transformed from the moment they arrived. Instead of the usual routine where Emma would find a quiet corner and wait for the evening to end, Sophia turned the event into an adventure. She taught Emma how to identify different types of appetizers. That's prosciutto, it's like fancy ham. Pointed out interesting architectural details in the hotel ballroom, and even convinced the DJ to take requests from the smartest kid in the room. Marcus watched in amazement as his daughter came alive. Emma, who usually clung to his side during social events, was now confidently introducing Sophia to other guests as my friend who knows everything about dragons. Sophia, meanwhile, seamlessly balanced her attention between Emma and the business conversations Marcus needed to have, somehow making both feel natural and effortless. "Your daughter is remarkable," said Jennifer Walsh, the foundation director Marcus had been trying to connect with all evening. "And Sophia is wonderful with her." "You're very lucky." Marcus nodded, but something twisted in his chest. Luck had nothing to do with it. Sophia was paid to be here, playing a role, and Emma didn't know that. What would happen when the evening ended and Sophia disappeared from their lives? The moment that changed everything came during the charity auction. Emma had been quietly bidding on a weekend at a children's art camp, using the small allowance money she'd brought in her purse. When the bidding exceeded her $5, she looked crushed. Without hesitation, Sophia placed a bid for $200 or more than she'd earned from the entire evening with Marcus. "Sophia," Marcus said quietly, "you don't have to do that." "Yes, I do," she replied, not taking her eyes off Emma's glowing face. "Some things are more important than money." Later, as the party wound down, Emma fell asleep in the car. On the way home, Sophia carefully lifted her from the back seat, and Marcus watched as she tucked his daughter into bed with the tenderness of someone who genuinely cared. "You didn't have to do any of that," Marcus said as they stood in his living room afterward. "The art camp, staying with her all evening. That wasn't part of our arrangement." Sophia looked around the immaculate house, beautiful but somehow hollow. "Can I ask you something? When's the last time you just sat with Emma, not helping with homework or getting her ready for something, but just being together?" The question hit him like a physical blow. Marcus Chen could recite quarterly earnings from memory, negotiate multi-million-dollar deals, and manage a company with 300 employees. But he couldn't remember the last time he'd simply listened to his daughter talk about her day without checking his phone. "I thought I was providing for her," he said quietly, "giving her the best of everything." "She doesn't need the best of everything," Sophia said gently. "She needs the best of you." The next morning, Marcus woke to find Emma in the kitchen, making pancakes with flower handprints on her pajamas and a smile brighter than he'd seen in months. "Daddy," she said, running to hug him. "I had the best dream. Sophia was here, and we were making breakfast, and you weren't checking your phone, and we were just happy." Marcus knelt down to Emma's level, seeing her really seeing her for what felt like the first time in years. "Sweetheart, what if I told you that doesn't have to be just a dream?" 3 months later, Sophia Martinez officially became more than just a weekend companion. She became Emma's tutor, Marcus's partner in learning how to balance work and family, and eventually, something none of them had dared to hope for, a family. The wedding was small, held in Marcus's backyard with Emma as the maid of honor. But the real celebration had happened weeks earlier, when Emma had asked the question that changed all their lives: "Can she stay forever, Daddy?" Marcus had looked at Sophia, seeing not the woman he'd hired to fill a social obligation, but the person who'd taught him that the most important business deal he'd ever make was the one where he invested his time and heart in the people who mattered most. "If she wants to," he'd answered. Sophia had smiled, the same gentle smile that had first comforted a lonely little girl in a kitchen, and said, "Forever sounds perfect." Sometimes the best things in life come disguised as business transactions, but love has a way of turning even the most practical arrangements into something extraordinary. Marcus had ordered a companion for one evening, but what he received was immeasurably more valuably a reminder that success isn't measured in quarterly reports, but in the laughter of a child who finally feels seen, and in the courage to let someone love you both exactly as you are,